Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy. And thank you so much for joining me for it. So I gotta say, for some reason, the Maggie Simpson Rogue Not Quite One story was really difficult to find in Disney Plus. I knew that it was there, I just actually had to go searching for it. It wasn't within the Star Wars stuff and readily findable, which is odd. So yeah, putting that aside, this is the second of the Maggie Simpson Star Wars themed shorts that have come out on May the 4th. The first one was The Force Awakens from its nap, and this one, as the title might suggest, plays a little bit on Rogue One, or at least the idea of it, but really there's not much Rogue One stuff related in it at all. In fact, it probably draws more from The Mandalorian than it does from Rogue One. So with Maggie being set in Grogu's stroller and then getting to turn it loose, and who knew that Grogu's stroller had a hyperdrive in it? That was brand new. I'm sure the real thing does not, but, you know, the Mandalorian taking Grogu out of his pram to go in a place because no strollers are allowed, and there's a sign that says, "Park strollers here in Arabesh," which is fun. It's the place that he goes into is called Mon Mothma in me, and Homer decides that he would rather go into Moe's Cantina, surprise, surprise, which is how Maggie ends up in Grogu's pram. And I thought it was funny that the Mandalorian didn't actually talk to Homer when Homer's looking around for Maggie and Mando's just gesturing up in the sky. But, you know, come to think of it, there were no actual lines of dialogue in this thing, and I just thought it was weird that Mando wasn't talking, but nobody was talking. Anyway, there's a lot of action and a lot of comedy in this, and it only goes for 4 minutes. It's not very long at all, but I have to say I felt like it was longer, and I felt like that in the best way, because it just seemed like, wow, this is happening and this is happening? Like, I was expecting it to be over by now, but nope, they still had a lot of fun stuff to do and some mockery of Disney stuff while they were at it too. It does remind me a little bit of conversations that they had many years ago when David Letterman was hosting Late Night on NBC, and he would make fun of the bosses at General Electric all the time, and some people saw it as, oh, this is amazing, how's he getting away with saying stuff like that? And other people were saying, yeah, it kind of actually serves as a little bit of a pressure valve where people can be like, oh, ha ha ha, yeah, that's funny, and then maybe it kind of takes the edge off and makes people not necessarily as mad about GE because they've actually laughed a little about them. And that may be a deeper conversation for another time, but it also kind of bears tangentially on topics that were being talked about with the folks who are going to be appearing on interviews over the next few days on the podcast. So it's kind of a weird sneak preview, but there you go. We've got more and the final set of interviews coming from Star Wars Celebration this upcoming week. But for today, I'll just say, yeah, check out Rogue Not Quite One. It is a good little bit of fun, and that is going to do it for this episode of the podcast. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for it. As always, may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
Star Wars 7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2021 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.